Before we get on to the question of why the Canadian military has no bullets, I want to ask you to make a donation. We deal with the issues that the mainstream news will not deal with, partly because they are paid by the Prime Minister's office. And we are not, and I don't want to be, but we want to stay on to bring the issues to you. So please make a donation. Kevin Bong is the Member of Parliament for Spadina, and he is an independent. He was a Liberal, and you'll see in another show what happened to him with some false accusations, but the Prime Minister doesn't care about that. You are also a reservist, and you're a loyal Canadian, and I've read interviews, some recently, from former Liberal MPs in general, saying the Canadian Army is in a shambles. True?
I think that's a good question. I've read those same reports. I know former Lieutenant General Andrew Leslie had recently penned an op-ed raising the alarm on that. I think what's challenging for me, and I've raised this in the House of Commons, is the new defense policy, Our North Strong and Free. I don't think it is an accident that it abbreviates into NSF, or non-sufficient funds, because there are way too many line items where there's literally $0, including $0 this year and next year, Stephen, for military housing, while the country is facing a housing crisis.
But the Prime Minister has lots of money at his discretion to give to his favorite charities or other causes. Why doesn't some of the military leaders stand up and say, you know what, we just can't put up with this anymore, we're leaving?
Well, I think at the end of the day, us, and obviously this is my personal opinion, but as a Naval Reserve officer, the oath of allegiance that we swore when we joined was to be loyal to Canada, and that means serving the civilian government. That means taking the orders and executing lawful orders that were given, right? And so that's why, for example...
No matter what, you are bound to follow the instructions.
That's right. And so I think it's the job of our leaders in the military to raise those in private as best as they can. But when it comes to public discourse, it is not the role of the military to criticize government decisions. It's the role of the official opposition. And hopefully our civilian leaders as well.
So let's just bring it up, you and I being civilians, but you being closer to the military. It is terribly underfunded. I'll bet you that the government spent more money on the PR firm to come up with the name of that document than it did on any of the military apparatus needed to protect the North. And so tell me, in your opinion, how the world feels about Canada.
I think the world is very concerned. The world, and especially our allies to the south, do not see us pulling our weight when it comes to investing in our capabilities and being able to protect Canadians and Canadian interests.
Right.
For example, and I think this is an issue of priorities of this government. A good example, I talked about military housing. Right now, in the new defense policy, the 5-year budget is $7 million in total for military housing. Have they ever built anything before? And yet, look at how much they spent for Iraqi employment initiative through international development, $10 million.
Or for giving free drugs in public parks. Kevin Bong, thanks very much. 3 minutes. This show provides independent analysis of the issues. We are not paid by the government. And as I am finding, so much business in Canada relies upon various governments that they don't want to sponsor or advertise on a show which may become controversial, which talks about liberty, freedoms, sometimes criticizes government. I've had guests on that support the government. But people are saying, you know what? We don't want to bite the hand that feeds us, i.e. government, which is why I hope you'll subscribe and contribute to keep this show on the air.